everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is another real-time crafts video. We're going to do a DIY Dollar Tree Mardi Gras wreath. This was a requested video. So we're going to use some feather boas. I have two of the multicolor, one green and one purple, so 4 in total. We're going to use this mask. They had a variety of masks at the Dollar Tree. Pick one that you love. We're also going to use this headband because I really like the combination of tubes and ribbon, and then a 14-inch wreath form as well. I'm going to use a tiny bit of wire too. The first thing I'm going to do is when I take this mask out, I was trying to decide, do I need to put different tie-ons on it basically. The way that these were placed sort of in it, I feel like it's going to work, and then I just left it, so I'll show you guys when we get to that. This is a super easy wreath, which is why it became a real-time craft. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw down my feather boas, because the design process and then what the finished product was, I'll show you at the end, are a little different. I knew that I wanted to wrap the majority of the wreath with the multicolored boas, but I wanted to put a solid color behind the mask. So I picked purple or green, and in hindsight I probably should have picked the yellow because there's so much purple and green in the mask. I was thinking about it coordinating, but then I'm like, I want it to stand out. So all I did in my design process was to put the mask down over the feather boa, the different feather boas, and decide which one I liked. And because the purple is much deeper shade than the purple in the mask, I went ahead and I chose that. So now it's just as easy as opening them up. The first thing we're going to do is these feather boas are basically strung together. There's like a big bundle of white cord, and on each end is a loop already prepared for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that loop to hang it. I wanted to feed it between the inner and second rings, and then I'm going to basically take a tiny piece of wire and wire it to the cross brace. You don't have to skip, you could skip this step. This is just instead of making an actual hanger, we're just going to use this to hang it with, okay? And this was fairly easy process. It's just cut a tiny piece of wire. I really love this floral wire, not floral wire, I take that back. I really love this wire from the tool bench section at the Dollar Tree. It's basically where all the hardware is. You get a red, a black, and 2 silvers, and they're just like the perfect gauge for all crafting things, in my opinion. Plus the black one's really good for projects when you're gonna wire 2 black pieces of something together, so you don't have to worry about spray painting it or coloring it or anything. Okay, so I just cut off a piece, created a loop, and just basically just twisted it around so that knot stayed nice and firm. And then it's as easy as wrapping this feather boa around this wreath. This feather boa with the tricolors works so perfectly with this size wreath because it creates these stripes. They're just the perfect width to go, like the length of, let me put it this way, the length of the yellow is exactly the perfect width of the front and back of the wreath. So then the next loop is going to be green and the next loop is going to be purple. So it just really came out really, in my opinion, it came out really, really perfectly. If you get a magnifying glass, not really, if you look really close, you may see wire forming through, but I feel like that's the nature of the wreath with feathers on it, like when you make a feather wreath. Unless you plan on getting 90 feather boas and jamming them all in there, you might come across that. But I feel like it's very full with the 4. I don't like those overstuffed wreaths. I think I mentioned this recently. I've made them, don't get me wrong, but after making them and after making ones that are a little more sparse, I'm really much happier with the ones that are a little bit more sparse. Now I will tell you, I was considering doing an add-on of some words like the let the good times roll in French. I'm not going to butcher that, or Creole. I'm not going to butcher that for you guys. But it's a popular saying on Mardi Gras. So I was thinking about writing that onto a little piece of, like, you know, one of our little signs or something, and then adding it to it. But you can do that as an option as well. So how I'm attaching these 2 feather boas together is I've basically undone the loops on each end, and then I'm just going to tie the loops together so it's basically like almost one continuous feather boa. I would not do this ahead of time. only because then you'll have like basically 3 feather boas you're trying to put through the the tube at the same time. But just make sure you tie it on the back, and make sure your knot's on the back. But because I told you that the size of this lands perfectly, it's so weird that the knots, all of my knots landed in the back. Okay, so I've done attached the 2 multicolored ones, and now I'm attaching the purple one, and I'm finishing the last third of the wreath with the purple one. Now, if you saw the thumbnail, you said, well, there's a lot more green around your wreath, and I'll explain that in a little bit of what I ended up doing. So we're just going to continue now like we don't know any better. And now I'm going to take the end of the purple, I'm going to undo its loop, and I'm going to tie it to the first piece that we wired on. And that's all. There's no glue involved, unless you're going to make one of those signs, like unless you're going to make a sign. There's no glue involved. There's just a little bit of wire, tie on, and then twist arounds. Now, the mask has its own feathers that are off to its right side. So I decided I wanted it to be on the left. So that's another thing I wanted to point out while you're making your design. I wanted the feathers to shoot off out of the wreath. You see that if I would have tied it on the other side, it would have shot to the inside of the wreath. So that's why I chose to put the purple over there. So now this is sort of like my favorite part that I just came up with on the fly. I just knew I wanted to do something with these tubes. The fact that they're all in the Mardi Gras colors, and they came with ribbons and enough tube mesh. Like, I could have bought probably 3 sets of tube mesh and 3 rolls of ribbon, but this was $1 and it just gave me enough. I've taken a piece of wire, a small piece of wire. You want to have enough that you can twist around, but also tie it onto the wreath. It's only about 4 or 5 inches long. And I've looped it, and I'm going to show you 2 techniques. One technique is to start on the skinny end where it's attached to the headband and slide it up so that you can reach into the middle. It just makes it a little easier because the tube and the ribbons are all like wanting to be everywhere. Then you want to pull them tight, like fold them in half, pull them tight, and then twist it around, just like when we're making bundles and stuff. Now for the other one, I decided to, and then cut it off. I did find that cutting each piece individually was a lot easier than trying to cut this whole in a bulk. It was really hard. So I just cut through a couple at a time. All right. And then there's always one left over. I'm like, why am I still attached to this headband? Don't worry, it happens on the second one too. So for the second one, and then adjust it. I'm sorry, I forgot to show you that I'm adjusting it here. For the second one, we're going to use our hands. So we're going to slide our hands up, find roughly the middle, and then squeeze it. And this is just another technique. Whichever one you prefer is really, it's up to you. You might have less patience pulling it along than you will grabbing it all together. But I figured with the second one, the first ribbons and tube mesh is out of the way, so we can go ahead and do that. And then what's really great about it is because the ribbon is so satiny and the tube mesh stretches, once you have this on, you can adjust, and you'll see me adjust it, so I should have just left that for there. Now, we are not big Fat Tuesday people in my house. I mean, we're big fat people, but we don't celebrate Fat Tuesday or Mardi Gras. I've never been to New Orleans, and I know it's beautiful, and I want to go, but I've never been there. So this was actually, like I said, it was a requested wreath, and it was a requested DIY, excuse me. So I really wanted to get like, I wish they had like the little plastic babies, because like there's the king cake, and there's just so many ways you could have gone. I was back and forth about putting beads on there because, but I don't know, I feel like that everybody does beads. I wanted to do something a little different, if that makes any sense. So as you saw there, I adjusted the ribbons and adjusted the tube so that they were sort of even on the left and the right of the wire. And now I've taken one bundle and I've put it towards the top of the purple section, and then I put one towards the bottom of the purple section, and I just wired them on. I just created a little space between, like moved the feathers over, and wired them onto the top and the bottom. And now here's where, not that it gets tricky, but here's where some design change came. And I'm going to talk to you about it while it's going. The mask, when I put the mask on, it kind of flattened the feathers to it felt like empty to me. It was weird. I don't know. After I put the mask on, I felt like it needed the green. I guess is really what I want to say. I don't know why, but you'll see. Maybe you'll agree and maybe you'll disagree. Maybe I should have said I should have left it. But what I'm doing is I'm tying the mask on the back, and then I'm taking one of the ribbons and I'm wrapping it around the outside wreath form, because I want it to not slide back and forth across the whole thing. I want it to be secure in that place. All right, and you just want to adjust it. You can do that with both ribbons. You can actually feed like the ribbons through the wreath form and then tie it around that way. But I just found this to be enough. And then with playing with it, like, should I have put the little bursts up a little higher, down a little lower? You guys, that's design. It's totally up to you. You could have actually attached them together and put them on the other side of the wreath, almost like a bow, to like balance the mask. But I just wanted it to look like almost like a Harlequin, Harlequin is like the clowny. So I just like with the big hair coming out or whatever. That's really what I was thinking about. But now, yeah, as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking I probably could use some green. So what I did was I decided to leave the purple behind the mask, but like right above the mask, blend in some green. Right below the mask, blend in some green. And then, not wanting to cut this boa apart, I just kind of twisted it at the end of the purple, towards one side. So it just looked like, whatever. And I tucked in the ends. I didn't even tie it off like I did all the other ones. And it's staying, so I'm not worried about it. Okay. Now, I would like to apologize for the camera work here. It's no matter how many years I've been doing this, I sometimes get out of my videographer head and get into my crafter head. And I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times when I'm crafting, I bring it so close to me. Like I want to pull it close to me. And that's what happens. If I move the camera so that you guys can see close to me, you're basically going to look at my chest the whole time. So that's not really something we want to do either. And now it's time to zhuzh, fluff, do your thing. And I really do think that the green added just a bit that I needed. But adjust your ribbons. Like I said, the ribbons are adjustable. And you possibly could pull them while you're doing something. So just adjust that all. I just think it came out so cute. I hope you guys really enjoyed this real-time tutorial. If you do, give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to share with friends and family, anybody you know might be interested. And if you do celebrate Mardi Gras, then I can't say it. I'm not going to say it. Bye. As always, you guys take care. God bless. I'll see you next time. Bye.